Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you here this morning to join us as we introduce someone new to our crew, DJ Herbert Holler. He is a good friend of one of my friends, Kaylin, and so he's going to be sharing with, sorry, I had my sound on over here. He's going to be sharing what it's like to have a career as a DJ, what life is like, how to get to something in that career. This is part of the virtual learning experiences that we're bringing to you. So students, that you understand just different available jobs that are out there, non-standard careers that are out there, and also just different places you can go visit and learn about. So I'm going to introduce Kaylin Markman. She is part of the teaching and learning department. She's a secondary science curriculum. And she's going to kind of serve as the moderator today. Her and DJ Herbert grew up together, so they're just going to have just a conversation about what life is like in his career and how to become a DJ. So, Kaylin, if you want to take it away.
Thank you so much, John. To everyone who's joined this morning, thank you for being here. You are in for quite the story. If you were to have asked me when we were kids what my guest today would have been when he grew up, well, let's be honest, he's still not grown up, but that's not fun. I would have never said a DJ. But here we have this world-renowned, huge party promoter and producer that is sought out by millions of people. So I introduce DJ Herbert Holler to you. I thank you so much for being here today. And I'd love to ask you, if you were to choose a theme song for your life, what would it be?
Hello, everybody. Hudson Marshmallow's whack. Lame. Let me get that straight out and wear a mask on my head. If I were to choose a song, it would be probably Bob James's Nautilus. And it goes a little something like this. And I'll tell you why I'm choosing this song in just a moment. You'll hear when the bass line comes in. So Bob James' Nautilus was sampled in over 336 hip-hop tracks. The ones some of y'all might remember or know maybe are Ghostface Killah's Daytona 500, Slick Rick's The Children's Story, and a bunch of Eric B. and Rakim songs and some Onyx songs as well. There's this really funky sort of undertone to the song, but there's also an ominous feeling, a threatening feeling, like you're not quite sure what's around the next corner, but that funky bass line drives you forward and pushes you forward no matter what crazy turn your life will take, and that's why I'm choosing that, especially now. That's why I'm choosing that as my theme song.
I thank you for that.
Yeah.
So here I have this picture of you as a young kid. Right? I don't know if this is Little League, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about when you were a kid. Who did you want to be?
Well, when I was a young kid, of course, my mom always asked me that, even when I was like 2 or 3, and I didn't even know what a job was. But, you know, I wanted to be a lot of things. I wanted to be a cook. I wanted to be a painter. I wanted to be a detective. I wanted to be a firefighter. You know, I wanted to be president. There were so many things I wanted to be, but I had no idea. As I got older, because I have a gift to gab and I talk a lot and I talk a lot of smack, it was a lawyer. That was probably my parents thought would be the best thing for me. They make good money, and I could put my active jaw to work on something like that and make money doing it. But then I was in this spelling contest, this national spelling bee contest, when I was like really young, and I spelled the word lawyer wrong. So we decided that it wasn't my career. We go by signs in my family, spirits in the universe. And then older still, I think in high school, because I loved science, and I really loved to make people laugh and be happy, which got me kicked out of a few schools growing up, public school, private school, and then I moved and got kicked out of another school. But I wanted to make people feel better. Thought it would be doctor, because a doctor, you can make good money, and it was always tethered to what was the right income and what was be the good money. But then I got to college in New York, and I went out one night, and the same night I called an emergency meeting with my guidance counselor, and I wasn't going to be a doctor anymore. So
one night out in New York City.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah.
All right. So we went from this young kid who thought he was going to be a lawyer, then a doctor, and I'm sure your parents were absolutely thrilled when you're at NYU and you're like, okay, now I'm changing my major.
That's right. Now I'm going to be creative writing and acting. And they're like, oh, wow. I mean, I was still doing psychology, but it wasn't, that was off the radar for now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we went from this young little league playing kid to a party that looks like this. And we've had, I think I want to say over 20 years, right? 800 something parties.
17 plus years, 800 plus parties in 3 or 4 different continents.
So I would like to show them, to give them an idea of what the Freedom Party is. Now, that's just one aspect of what it is that you do. And I would imagine, and I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in, so this is a great time to talk about this. There might be the misconception that all a DJ does is perform. And I'm guessing that's not the case. So if you and I were to trade places and we switched jobs, what would be some skills that I would need, or things that I would be doing? What kind of things would I be doing?
So back in the day, DJs, I mean, before my time, even like in the 80s and stuff like that, even up into the mid 90s, DJs were just responsible for DJing, finding the dopest music you can find, getting all the new music and then putting it all out there and putting people onto the new stuff and just playing stuff that people can't get and keeping the room lively and active, because the DJ's job is to make people happy, entertain people. But today that's not the case. It's entirely different. So some of the skills you might need would be marketing. You have to market yourself now. There are a zillion DJs out there. When there were 100, you didn't really have to, because you had work and you didn't need to put yourself out there like that. But now you have to. So marketing is this grand umbrella, and beneath marketing, you have advertising, promotion, publicity, press relations, and those types of things. You have to create content. You have to produce video. You have to study analysis and the results of the ads that you create and send out. You have to be able to write and type, or have money to pay someone who can do all that. And it takes a lot of time. That's what I do mostly, I would say. Out of 100% of time, I would say 75% of the time I'm marketing, and 25% of the time I'm actually DJing. The other thing you might want to consider is music production, like Marshmello and all of the dudes like him. They to get to that international. I'm totally hating right now, and I shouldn't. Peace to Marshmello. To get to that status where you are international and making millions upon millions of dollars, and you're a superstar. To get there, you might want to produce music yourself. And so now you have to, in addition to learning the rules of marketing and learning how to write creatively and edit and produce video and be a photographer, now you also have to learn how to produce music, whether it's Ableton or Logic or pro whatever. I mean, there's a ton of them out there. That's what you also need to do. You also have to, unless you have a manager, which a lot of the time is a big waste of money, unless you can't speak to a client. You need to work on your client relations, how you talk to people, how you put yourself out there, how you negotiate for yourself and make sure you get top dollar. And being a generally cheery person. If you're a very artistic DJ, you might want to like have somebody do that for you. So your abrasive personality and your passion and your emotion doesn't flow through every time you speak to a client, because they don't want that. They want to know, what you're going to do and how good of a job you're going to do it. And last, you have to really be adept at entertaining people. You have to understand how to read a crowd. So when you're finally DJing that 25% of the time, this is for before you're a superstar. Before you're a superstar and you're reading rooms and picking songs to work the room, you have to really be able to read and get an idea of who people are and look at them. And you got to judge them when you look at them. If you see me walk into your dance floor, you're probably going to think, I'll play some Kenny Rogers or something, right? But, and I wouldn't be mad at you for that, okay? So you do that, and then you start to see, okay, that didn't work. And then you have to be quick on the fly to find a new song that might work. And then you do Kenny Loggins, and I'm happy as heck. No, I'm just – then
I love Kenny Loggins.
So, no. I'm basically, you don't want me on your dance floor. I'm just way too eclectic and weird. But so you have to learn how to read people too. So pushing play and rocking out is such a small portion of what you're going to do as a full-time DJ.
Well, I thank you a lot for that, because I think that you showcased a lot of skills, whether it was writing, relationship building, negotiating. John, if you wouldn't mind pulling up, I want to showcase this. So in addition to doing a party at, let's say, a club like Le Poisson Rouge or Irving Plaza, you have a ton of clients that you work with. So when you're talking about clients and meeting their needs, whether that's, and I didn't include in here, but Live Nation and Porsche and all of these big companies that you work with, how that, I could see how those skills you talked about would translate into those types of relationships very importantly, obviously. Now I know I've known you for a lifetime, and I can attest that your story follows the old adage, out of struggle comes strength.
Yeah.
What would you say one of your biggest obstacles or challenges that you've had, and what lesson did that teach you?
I think that the biggest lesson that I've learned from this is confidence, how you see yourself in the world. The most important thing is not what other people say you are or imagine you to be. It's who you say you are and imagine yourself to be. And it took me a long time to really understand that and believe that. Part of your job as a DJ is you're searching for validity on a dance floor through other people's enjoyment, but you have to make sure that you leave that on the dance floor. And when you're home or when you're doing anything else, you are who you say you are, not what anyone else says you are. So teaching myself that confidence and believing in myself, and not, imagining some existential thing where am I supposed to be a DJ? I don't look like a DJ. I don't like the same things DJs do. I don't watch basketball. I don't care about sneakers. That's your prototypical DJ, and that isn't me. But it doesn't matter, because I'm very much a DJ, and so I would say that was a huge obstacle. And that confidence kind of came into play a couple years ago. I had I got rid of a couple people that worked for me on this old school party that I'm very well known for. And these two grown adults decided to take everything to Facebook. So they dragged me through the tweets, as they say, and put everything out there and just showed their whole selves on Facebook and Twitter. And there was just not a lot, but enough. There was a lot of stuff out there, and that was tough, because I had all these people now saying who they thought I was, a fake, a fraud, you know, a thief, all sorts of things. And
you were concerned for your reputation.
Pardon?
You were concerned for your reputation.
It was more of an inner battle, because now I'm face to face with, who am I? Am I who I say I am, or who they say I am? I hope I'm not who they say I am. I don't feel that way. And that moment, that fire taught me, that trial taught me that I am who I say I am. And the people who love me, they have a much bigger influence outside of myself. People who love me are the second biggest influence on who I am, but not these people that I don't know that are just responding to gossip. And then I would say the third biggest obstacle was having a daughter. When my firstborn was born, that'll take you out of this vision of what you're supposed to be, and it pulls you right into who you are and what you need to do. And it taught me to recognize what I'm thinking and I'm feeling from an emotional place is a lot different than what I'm thinking and feeling from a calm, centered, gripped place. And that really teaches you confidence as well. And I think there's an underlying consistency here of all three of these obstacles. Sorry?
No, go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, the underlying consistency from all three obstacles is that you have to challenge yourself. You have to run towards the fire, not away from it, to find who you are and to build strength. You have to experience pain to experience joy. That's what I would say.
I know it touched on what you were speaking about. So Melanie asked, is it difficult to have a family with the kind of hours that you maintain at, late nights, different venues? How do you navigate that?
It can be. You just have to have a partner in your life who is very flexible and very understanding and is a part of the drive and the mission. Or what you can do is you can sort of move towards private events. The private event industry, you're done latest 10 p.m. And also the money is exponentially more. So before I was married and started a family, I was in the clubs 5 nights a week till 4 a.m. I'd go get breakfast at 5 or 6, maybe go to an after party. I'd be home at 8 a.m. and sleep the rest of the day.
Right.
After clubs, I was home by 10:30, 11. I'm in bed, showered, washed, moisturized, good night's sleep. And next morning I'm making breakfast for the kids and trying not to mess up my wife's coffee. So
very nice.
Make it work. Yeah.
That's good advice. Now, I see a lot of kids asking some great questions, and
awesome.
Some of them are asking about.
I talk too much, so just cut me off.
No, what's a favorite event, or what's a thing? And it makes me think about, when did, and maybe this will answer their question. When did you realize, what was the first big win where you realized, I chose the right path. I know that this is for me.
Yeah. There was a few. The first one was I did this hip hop party. It was in this big, 1,000+ person club. It was every single week. And I hadn't really rocked anything yet. But when I got in there, I rocked it. I destroyed it. And people were just losing their whole faces were coming off. And I just was like, how can I still question whether I was supposed to be a doctor or a lawyer? I'm so good at this, and they love it. And that was my first win that I knew where I was. I would say the second major win was later. I opened up for Tory Lanez and Miguel and Cashmere Cat and Jesse Ware at the El Rey Theater in LA. Benny Blanco, who's a pretty well-known super producer, is on TV now or whatever. He had his record label had this showcase, and it was sold out in 30 minutes or something. And he put me on as the opening DJ and in between DJ, and I rocked it. And this was, I was playing new stuff, old stuff, all kinds of stuff, and it was just great. And then there were some of the small wins. I've been asked to do some weddings in Italy, which is mad cool, to go to Florence and Venice and eat your face off and then go DJ in some type of Italian garden. That's dope. I did a Brooklyn Museum party where there are 19,000 people. That was dope. And then doing my party at Summer Stage in Central Park, the old school party where we have some video of.
Yeah, we do actually.
Yeah.
Here's an image from that Central Park summer stage.
Yeah.
Really exciting.
That's your boy right there. That's your boy.
There you are.
Yeah.
And just to give them an idea.
So this was a moment when the 5,000 people that were there did this dance together called Palance. It's a soca song. I don't know how many soca heads we have here today, but I love soca music. I love the Caribbean. Shout out to the West Indian Massive, my Eastern Parkway crew. I love y'all. That was a fun time.
No, that looks amazing. Here's another shot from when you opened for Snoop Dogg for his show.
That was strange because this was a show where people aren't dancing and feeling it. They're just looking at me. And I'm like, there's nothing really to look at, Holmes. I mean, my t-shirt was cool because whatever, but there's not much to look at. So I had to kind of get more like animated and speak to people on the mic and drop more records. And there was a lot of West Coast stuff. And I was too shy to get a picture with Snoop. So instead they put me in the green room with his dancers, which was interesting.
Interesting. We won't share that story. So Nicole is asking, is it hard to come up with new music? Is it, I know that you have a vibe that you kind of start out a party with, but how do you make those decisions?
So I think Nicole's, it seems to be, she's asking about the songs that I select. I don't produce music. So if I had to talk about new music that I'm selecting a different song for a different moment, you just have to read people and see how they respond. And you have to be confident. You have to stay in a pocket for a minute. Like if you play a song early in the evening and somebody's not digging it, that doesn't mean you switch right away. You really got to work on your improv skills when you're an open format DJ. Now, when you're, a huge superstar DJ, it doesn't matter what you play. You can stand up there and play taps on the piano and people will be like, oh, I love you. Doesn't matter. Because they're there to see you. They're there to hear the music as much as they are to see you play the music. But when I do parties, like I'm so focused on the crowd and how they're reacting and improvising. So it almost annoys me when people are there just like looking at you like this, like there's, just go dance. So, what was the second part of that question? It's based on the people there.
Well, here's a question. How do you mentally prepare?
If I really need to, by this time, I don't really need to mentally prepare. Like it's exciting. It gets me going. It's a whole new world and I'm just thrust in it and I love it. But if I'm stressed or if my energy ain't right, like I'll try to do some deep breathing meditations, just big belly breaths, mindfulness meditation. It's just something I think is really good. And one day we'll be in every school. So you already know what I'm talking about, but we'll see on that. Other times I'll take a disco nap, like couple hours, you wake up feeling great. One time I took a disco nap and I drank this bottle of Ensure, which is this nutritional drink. And I had one of the best gigs of my life because I was energetic and I had the right nutrition and I was hitting records. And I was on Broadway playing a club that held about 1,000 people, maybe about 900. And it was right off Broadway and there was a line outside and I was just everything. I was sort of a conduit, a conductor for all this energy and this excitement. So you got to feel good and be energetic in that booth. You can't be in there sluggish, like, pushing buttons because it's going to be a long haul if you do.
I can attest to that energy. I mean, when I saw you the last time in New York, to pull up and see a line legit wrapped around the block in the freezing, people are freezing, waiting to see you. And that energy, I mean, you pack them in there. You definitely do. And I can attest to that. So Heather's asking, for someone interested in breaking into the industry, what steps would you suggest that they take?
There are a lot. I'm happy to give out my email when this is done for people to hit me to give them a more full story. I'm thinking of teaching a DJ class too, which will talk about all that.
That's fantastic.
I would say first get yourself some baseline equipment at home and start fooling around at home. Start listening to music and playing with songs and seeing what fits and what doesn't. And then maybe you do a house party for a friend, a birthday party or something like that. And you start to for other people, even if you invite friends over who are just chilling and they're in your room, you're hanging out and you play a song, and they're like, oh, it's my joint. Then you start to get this understanding of what people respond to and how they respond to it. And then from there, you can keep embellishing, do a little bit bigger parties, maybe do somebody's Sweet 16, or you do somebody's 21st, or you do somebody's bar bat mitzvah, and you're like, okay, you know, like you just keep doing gigs over and over, and you start building that experience.
Bar mitzvah dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what your parents think? Be honest.
So by that time, they had already been broken down. Like, they'd already lost all hope in their son being some type of like very prestigious, you know, career, living in a mansion in the suburbs. You know, they obviously, I was kicked out of I ran away from one school, got kicked out of another, fought in another. By that time, they were open to the possibility that I wasn't going to follow anyone's prescription but my own, which is another message. Like, you know, not everybody advances through life in a linear fashion, like high school, college, grad school, you know, masters or whatever, and then your job, and then it's not linear like that. You have to tell your own story. You have to create the own prescription for your life. Yeah.
I thank you for that.
Yeah.
So this is a great question because you have a secret love affair with house music, right?
Yes.
So this is a great question. What are the differences? What do you think the difference when you spin hip hop versus house?
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, that's a great question, because those are two of the very dissimilar mixing styles. So hip hop is hot, heavy, and hard. It's like zigga zigga zigga, or zigga zigga zigga, boom boom boom. It's like it's constantly moving. Hip hop is pop. So you're constantly you're keeping excited. You're keeping it short. You're keeping it interesting. It's more about the DJ and how he or she is selecting the songs and writing and keeping it exciting. It's more about turntablism. Like, you might know DJ Craze or DJ Qbert, or even DJ Jazzy Jeff can do some really interesting when it comes to hip hop. It's very quick. It's very different. House music is a vibe that you just ride, right? It's this deeper, more spiritual, more intrinsic journey that you take. You don't zigga zigga. You don't hot drops. It's not fast. It's marinating. It's taking your time. If it's not doing that, it's not house music. A lot of the songs that you hear, especially the EDM songs, are not really house music, but forget what I say. It's what you say. If it feels like house to you, then it is. But even your deep house stuff like Disclosure or like MK, who some of y'all might know, you know, that the deeper it gets, the more spiritual it gets. And there you're doing long blends. You're taking two songs and you're mixing them together. You're letting them play out, and then you're mixing the ends of them together just so that ride continues, and maybe continues up or continues like this, or maybe cools it out. But it's more about that feeling. House is a feeling. You'll hear house heads say that. House is a feeling. So
thank you for sharing. So so I laughed when I saw this question earlier. Yeah. I said, "Oh, they don't even know that he does that party in Chicago." Yeah.
But I'm shaking my head because this is a tough one. Tasha, you're trying to get me in trouble here. And my wife is from Chicago, and I played Chicago monthly for 7 years, and I have lots of friends in Chicago. And in fact, I'm pretty close to Chicago right now, as I had to break from the BX. But wait, what's the question again? How do I feel about it? How do you feel about it? Okay, so I love Chicago house. I love that Jack sound. I met Chip E. I love his music. I never met I'm drawing a Frankie Knuckles. But I love it. I love it without a doubt. It's Jack and on the old acids. It's just my favorite. It's great. But whether or not it started in Chicago, that's where it gets hard. I'm not, because I'm an East Coast head and I'm not going to fight like that. But was Jesse Saunders On and On the first record? Can you call that a house record? Wasn't it truly the record that he sampled, which was Mock's On and On? Wasn't it the Italian disco guys like Giorgio Moroder and them that made it? And then don't forget, at the same time in New York, Boy Jarvis made his record, The Music Got Me. You know, and a quick little thing, they call it house music because there was a record store nearby this club called The Warehouse, and the record store had this section of all records that Frankie Knuckles played at the Warehouse, but the name Warehouse Music was too long, so they took out Ware and they just made it House Music. That's where it comes from. So yeah, we can go deeper in that, but that's for another time. I don't know how much time we got left.
Well, I'll give you Tasha's email address, and you guys.
Tasha, we can talk. And also, Tasha, Uncle Remus is better than Harold's. Sorry.
So, where do you get your inspiration from? Is there other art forms, other than music, and I could speak to this, but I'll let you answer it as far as other music, because I know that we go a long way back with music.
Yeah. So my inspiration comes strictly from, not strictly, but mostly from people on my dance floor. When I hear a great song and it inspires me and I close my eyes, awesome. That's for me. But what really drives me is seeing people on that dance floor dance and smile. That inspires me to keep going. That's why it's tough right now, because I'm doing live streaming and it's kind of like, I can't see them. I can see the comments, but I can't see them dancing. I can't feel that physical energy. Dance is the most inspiring thing. People's happiness is what pushes me forward. That's why I DJ, to make people happy. And so that inspires me.
There's actually a great photo, John, if you wouldn't mind pulling it up for a second. But it was a great segue, because this is from the Brooklyn Botanic Garden Spring Gala. And you can just see the joy on people's faces that, you're able to bring.
There's that lady in the back right, especially the lady all the way in the back right. She's making that ooh face, like, it's hurting me. Yes. Oh, it hurts.
And I send you feedback every week. So know that when I'm listening to you live stream, I have a smile plastered across my face. So you brought up this pandemic and what's happening right now, right? And how you're DJing. It was interesting because I read an article that I actually posted for the kids to read, where they talked about how music can actually heal in ways that human interaction can't, which is obviously really huge in this pandemic right now. What kind of impact do you hope to achieve through what you do creatively? Because it goes beyond just spinning records, right?
Right. It just goes back to, I want to spread joy. I want people to be happy. When I was first pre-med at NYU, it was because I wanted to be a psychiatrist, which is, I can't imagine myself doing that, but I wanted to make people happy. So that's the impact, to make as many people happy as I possibly can, to spread the joy of music and the therapy of music and the spirit of music to as many listeners as I can, and make them appreciate it even more. As much as it affects me, I want it to affect them in a positive way. And there's also part of me that I do want to, I'd like to make a little bit of a name for myself, sure. But at the end of the day, if on my deathbed, it's not going to be, how famous or popular or how much money did I make. At the end of the day, if nobody says that when they're on their deathbed, oh, I wish I made more money, or I wish I was more popular, more famous. They always say, I wish I spent more time with the people I love. That is what they say when they're about to die, and they think when they're about to die. Not, I wish I had another BMW. It's, I wish I had more time with the people I love. So.
Worse. That's a great point. So Danielle wants to know, what music platform do you use? So what technology do you use to do what it is that you do?
So to get the music, I'm using one of the DJ pools. I use Franchise, which is Funk Master Flex's site, platform. And there's also DJ City, and there's some other ones. To get other music, I'm also on iTunes. So I'll just buy something off iTunes. I also use Beatport for house music and dance music, and TrackSource for house music and dance music. Those are the ways that I buy the music. To DJ the music, I use Serato. There's a few different ones, but Serato is probably the most widely used by DJs. And I'm a purist, so I still use Scratch Live, which is the older Serato. You can't use that with the new Mac OS. Mac is the best computer to use for Serato. If you want to use Scratch Live, the older one, you can't go past Yosemite. Yosemite is the best. If you want to use a newer Serato, you have to do, there's DJ Pro, and you should stay up to date with your OSs on that. And then for my hardware, it's all Pioneer CDJs and Pioneer CD turntables and a Pioneer mixer.
Thank you. Okay, so what was your first like breakthrough? How did you get noticed?
This was all before, this was in 2000, so this was really before social media was there. You had to get noticed by getting physically noticed. Unless you're paying for advertisements in newspapers and magazines, which I didn't do. We didn't have money like that. So you have to get noticed by being public and being visual. And my first gig was opening up for DJ Evil D of Black Moon, Boot Camp Click fame. And this is some real New York City hip hop stuff. Like, he was in the Beat Miners and he made amazing music. And I opened up for him at a lounge on First and First in New York called Bar 16. And that was when I was first noticed. It wasn't a huge turnout. There was maybe like 20 people there, but those 20 people, they spread the word. So each one of those people hopefully are saying, hey, I was at so-and-so and this dude was there and he was kind of dope. And that's how the word starts to get along. Now imagine that's without social media. So today that just you gotta embrace social media today. But
yeah, so it's like that no risk, no reward. I mean, if you hadn't shown up to DJ for 20 people, and you've got to know that that's worth it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you ever get nervous?
I get nervous every time. How much nervous I get just really depends. Like, so for my Freedom Party, I'm very little bit nervous that things aren't going to go well. It's more about how many people are going to turn out, pay to get in, and how much money am I going to make? Because I know I can rock that. Like, I know I can rock the hinges off that place. So there's a little bit of nerve there. When, like, before I came and spoke on this thing, I was a little bit nervous, a little bit of indigestion, just a little bit, but that's natural and it's good. The best athletes get a little bit nervous before they play. For private gigs, a little more nervous. For weddings, whenever I do them once in a while, really nervous because it's somebody's big day. And the bridezilla is going to come over and destroy your whole mental state if you're not doing it right. So, yeah.
Of course. Here's an image, actually. John just pulled it up. And yeah, you certainly, because I have been there and I can attest to it, you definitely pack them in and rock the house for the Freedom Party at LPR. So yeah. That's where you're just a little nervous because you can.
Just a little, yeah.
You can tear the doors off that place.
Yeah.
We had another question from Patrick. What was your favorite event you DJ'd at? You have one?
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. My favorite event that I DJ'd, there's been so many, so I'll just say one of them. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely one of them. It was that opening for Tory Lanez and them at the El Rey Theater because I was very nervous. That was big time. As far as commercial music is concerned and pop music, and I didn't know if I'd be able to relate because also most of the people in the attendance were probably 10 years younger than me, so I was admittedly and honestly and legitimately nervous, but I kept some
a senior citizen in the
what?
You felt like a senior citizen in the
it was weird, but I rocked it. Like I played a lot of 90s and a lot of early 90s, maybe a couple ones from and I did play a decent amount of 2000s. So we had Nelly and Luda and Chingy and all that stuff, and they went ballistic. So I just a disclaimer here, I really don't like, and I know some of y'all are gonna judge, but I really don't like that trap 808. That the drill, I don't like that. Just doesn't, it's boring to me. It puts me to sleep. So I didn't want to have to touch that because I know that I wouldn't perform at my best. And I didn't have to, which was dope. And the whole place was like singing and dancing and going crazy. So
that's good. So you did your job. How did you fall in love with music?
I think we all are in love with music in a certain way. For me as a person, I can be very sensitive. I'll just throw that out there. So when I hear music or see art or hear art or feel art, it really has a profound effect on me. And it gives me goosebumps. And maybe that's what makes me such a great DJ, is because that feeling I'm bottling up and selling or giving to people, that same connection to that good feeling. I think if the question was, how did I find my rhythm or my timing? When I was little, I couldn't really fall asleep at all. I was a very, hyper. And so my dad used to sling me over his shoulder before bed and like put on disco and classic rock and just do his white guy 2-step old man thing. And that would kind of put me to sleep. So I think that's what kind of put it in me to do it.
Random side hobbies. What are some random things you like to do?
So this is tough because
other than going to the Oyster Creek Inn.
Yeah, besides eating.
Yes, besides eating.
That's a tough one because I made my hobby. It wasn't always full time. For the first few years, I was writing for different companies. So first few years out of college, I was writing. So I made my full time my hobby, and that's a little tricky and a little dangerous because you love it. So doing it on a Saturday or a Sunday or in your leisurely time feels natural, but that's also work, and it's not healthy for you to do that in your leisurely Saturday or Sunday time. So it's tricky. I go to the gym, I know you can tell. 4 times a week, you know what I'm saying? So working out and being healthy is a hobby. Sometimes like I don't binge watch stuff, but I do binge watch on YouTube. They have a couple cooking documentaries that have series. Like there's one called Natural Foods, where it's this 107-year-old Indian lady in Kerala in the southern part of India who's like cooking and slicing. I like watching food being cooked. So I'd say working out and watching people make food and then eating food. Yeah.
So, how has the technology changed from when you started until now? Has it gotten better? Is it worse?
Can you measure technology as better or worse? I mean, technology answers a need, right? So when I first started in the early 2000s, I was using Technique turntable 1200s. I was using vinyl, big discs, and that was fine. Like, so, that was enough at the time. Technology is for moments when enough is never enough, right? So that was too difficult for people. It was that made it a little too esoteric and a little too cliquish. It's harder to understand the dynamics of a Techniques turntable and to know where to go to buy the best vinyl and to know how to like put a penny on your needle head if it's that was a little too scientific for people. And so to make it easier and also accessible to the new nerdier techno digital generation, they digitized it. So it's easier now for what's needed, but it was just as easy then for what was needed. It just all depends on what's needed.
Absolutely.
There's way more possibility with the technology. You can do so many more things.
And
back then you didn't have to. There it is.
For the students that are interested in that, just so you know, I did include on the website a clip that talks about one of the people that invented the MIDI and what the purpose of that was and how that made basically a computer an instrument for many DJs. So check that out if you guys are interested in that.
Yeah.
So my last question that I want to ask you today is, I want you to put yourself back for a second into the mind of a middle school or high school student, and think about navigating the awkwardness of those teenage years.
Yeah.
The pressure to conform to the masses is huge.
All I want to do is hook up, to be honest.
You're terrible.
Right.
And it's not until you're older that I think you can embrace what makes you unique.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
I believe that I'm not that weird. I believe that on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm maybe a 5.
Okay.
Other people might think I'm a 15 or 20.
I was going to say like a 37.
Yeah. But, and this is a good question, it's not just about believing in yourself, but it's about believe yourself. There's 7+ billion people on the planet, and there's one you. There's only one you. So you got to tell your story. It's different than all 6 1,999,999,000 stories. You're so unique. And you know, if I say I'm a 5 on the weird scale, I'm a 5. You can say what you want, but I'm not that weird. You know, and that's you're the person who determines what, you know, what you are and who you are and where you go. And where you go needs to be towards the fire. You gotta run into it and question and challenge yourself. Like I said, at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to be wishing you had more money. You know, I know Drake said that lyric always comes up in my head, like, people without money act like money isn't everything. I'm trying to do his voice, it kind of annoys it. People without money. But I would say quite the contrary. People without love act like love isn't everything. And maybe Drake is saying he doesn't have that love, you know, and people who have love and money would give the money away. They would, unless they're like a sociopath. They would give it away and keep that love. And that's, you know, that's really, really important, that you don't get lost in that social media thing. You don't get lost in the A-reels and the fame and the fortune, because that is not what you're going to wish you had most of when you're dead.
I would agree.
That's a little bit morbid.
A little morbid.
When you die.
But you know what? I'll end it on a high note. Okay. So you know, at least you said a 5, because honestly, in my mind, I think that weirdness is just a side effect of being really awesome. So at least you're a 5 on the scale of awesome. All right. We'll just say that.
I'm also a 5 on. I also think I'm a 5 on the awesome scale. I don't think I'm that awesome, but
I think you're really super awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would have put you way higher on the weird scale, but that's
nice.
Okay. Maybe that's why we're friends. I want to thank you so much for being here today. The kids, I could see the chat coming in. They were so engaged. I really thank you for your time. And I am looking forward to Thursday night. I will be there watching you live stream.
Nice.
Exciting. And I thank you for doing that during this time. I'm telling you, music is very healing. And I think as much as you can't feel everyone's vibe, they're vibing with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. Thank you too, Kaylin. Thank you. And to everybody out there, thanks for listening, for sure.
Yeah, thanks guys. We'll just have a couple of things to wrap up. I thought it was a great conversation. Awesome conversation in the chat as well. So if you're in the chat, if you're from Palm Beach County, we do have a Flipgrid response that we're going to share the good responses. So make sure your response has a quality response, but we are going to share them with DJ Herbert Holler so he can see your responses too. So either scan the QR code, come back later, or it is a bit.ly that we just posted in the chat box as well. You've got 30 seconds, and what we're going to be doing is, if we moderate through them, we're going to create a mixtape that we're going to give to DJ Holler, and he can see your responses. So if you have questions, if you want to share how he inspired you, please feel free to fill out that Flipgrid response, because it's it's your way of really personalizing your message to him. For the teachers that are in the group, don't forget that we do have resources, as Kaylin alluded to, on the website where you probably found this. There are some Newsella articles, there's some Brain Pop information, and also some stuff from Discovery. So please feel free to get that information, share it with your students. It is open to everyone, so students, you can go there as well and read about some of the information there as well. And as we continue our virtual learning experiences, tomorrow we've got a great lineup. Tomorrow at 8 a.m., mostly for elementary, but again, anyone's invited. The Center for Creative Education is going to be here at 8 a.m., and they are going to have a virtual artist talking about paintings and artwork. It's going to be a really cool interactive series. And then at 11:30 for everyone, secondary and elementary, we're going to have the Science Center here. And the Science Center is going to do, they're going to share about their brain exhibit. They're going to show an awesome clip about what the exhibit looks like at the Science Center. And then they're going to show you some experiments as well. So it's really going to be a cool experience at 11:30. Again, all the links are different. So they're either in our channel down below. They'll be loaded there, waiting for them to go live. Or you can follow us on Twitter, which is the EdTech PBC. That's where we're tweeting from. Or again, the website's there as well. So with all of that, I just want to thank DJ Herbert Holler one more time for such a great conversation. It's great to learn what other people are doing and letting other people know what's out there. You may not be the doctor that your parents want you to be because you're more happy with music. So keep going with what your heart's inspired with. It's hard sometimes to go against your parents, but you know what you want to do in your life, and that's what you have to go for. So with that, I'll leave it to DJ Herbert if you just want to say the last few words before we leave out.
Shoot. I'll just echo what I said before. Tell your story. You're 1 in 7 billion. There's nobody in the world like you. Your story is what is most valuable, and you have to tell it, and it can't be anybody else writing it. Eventually, people can weigh in, and hopefully those people are the people you love, but tell your own story.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Fast, guys.
See you later, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.